Welcome to Catholic Answers Live, the program where you participate with your questions about apologetics and evangelization, including the most important theological, spiritual, moral, and social issues facing the world today. Call now with your question for today's guest. Toll free 1-888-31-TRUTH. That's 888-318-7884. Now, from San Diego, Catholic Answers Live.
Hello and welcome to Catholic Answers Live. We're starting the week off really good, as we often do with Darren's fine scheduling, but it's always a good Monday treat when we have Trent Horn here with us, and Trent is with us both hours this Monday afternoon. And our topic, why are you pro-choice? If you are a pro-choice person and would be willing to discuss that with us, we would be very happy to discuss it with you. Maybe you are of the view that it's legal, and so we should stop talking about it. We're willing to discuss that. Maybe you are pro-choice because you believe in what's called a woman's right to choose, or maybe you have some other reason that you hold that view and you'd like to share that reason with us and engage in a reason-based conversation. If you're willing to do that, we welcome your call. 888-318-7884, 888-318-7884. I am Cy Kellett, your host, and our guest, as I said, Trent Horn, is staff apologist here at Catholic Answers. He is a convert to the Catholic faith, has spent a good part of his life defending the pro-life position, and he is the author of a book called Persuasive Pro-Life among his several books. His most recent books, wait a second, is the Saints book out?
It is available on the Catholic Answers shop, and so you should be able to get that there, at least pre-order, but I know it'll be available for sale in a few weeks. But you can pre-order it at shop.catholic.com.
Because I was going to mention why we're Catholic, and then the case for Catholicism, two of your most recent books, and then I realized maybe those aren't the most recent books, because maybe What the Saints Never Said is out.
Yeah, I would say What the Saints Never Said is now my most recent book, and that was a fun little book to write. So that's going into history of things the saints are reported to have said, like preach the gospel, use words if necessary, pray as if everything depended on God, work as if everything depended on you. And I take those things that the saints reportedly said, show they didn't say them, especially the ones that kind of have subtle heresies built into them, and then show people what the saints really did say that we should look at.
Yeah, I think there should be a follow-up book, Things Pope Francis Never Said, because I see on the internet
he gets in my book.
He does.
Saints in my book is kind of a catch-all term for any well-known Catholic.
Oh, okay. Very good. Yeah.
So there's a lot of saints, but there's also just a lot of well-known Catholics, and I do have a chapter on one thing St. Francis reportedly said about salvation, and I drop a few other Pope Francisism. St. Francis is in there too a lot.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that since St. Francis of Assisi is misquoted so often, it's very providential that Pope Francis is also misquoted.
Yeah, right. And it's usually kind of a quasi-inspirational but clearly New Agey thing that I'll see with Pope Francis's name under it. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure he did not say that.
Yeah, it's like something that people take from the Deepak Chopra meme generator. Have you heard of that?
No, there is an actual Deepak Chopra meme
generator.
So
Deepak Chopra promotes New Age and cosmic consciousness, things like that. And most of what he says, though, actually has no informational content. It's just kind of word salad. And so you see these on these memes all over the internet. And so you can go to the Deepak Chopra generator, and it will put together random words that sound exactly like things in his book.
Man, maybe he uses it. You don't know.
Yeah, so I'm sure I could do an experiment. You could take some of that, and you put it next to many different famous people, Pope Francis being one of them.
Oh yeah,
on those internet memes.
Right.
So that's why my book, What the Saints Never Said, really focuses on a lot of these fake quotes get put out over the internet. That's why at the beginning of my book, I actually quote Abraham Lincoln, who said, the trouble with internet quotations is that they're hard to verify.
I remember him saying that. That was right after the Gettysburg Address at the press conference, right? Mm-hmm. Where,
they amended the online version of the address after it went up.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The Lincoln White House was famous for their online shenanigans. Indeed. Famous. 888-318-7884 is our number if you are a pro-choice person and you would like to tell us why you are pro-choice, we're willing to engage in a reasoned discussion with you about it. We'd like to do that, as a matter of fact. We'll even go so far as to try our best to make it a charitable conversation. We're not trying to make enemies. We're just trying to have conversations, and we would like to have the conversation about life. If you are a pro-choice person and you want to share that, 888-318-7884 is the number, 888-318-7884. Trent, I'm correct in saying, before you were a Catholic apologist, I don't even know if it may even predate you being a Christian. I mean, being a Catholic, I don't know, Trent. You were a pro-life kind of leader.
Yeah, well, I engaged in pro-life apologetics. I went around the country. I spoke on college campuses. I took part in pro-life displays and outreaches through an organization called Justice for All. And so I spent a lot of time, and we wanted to go to college campuses because we had a display that had graphic images of abortion. So we liked taking that thing to places where there's lots of people who are willing to talk about abortion and are thinking of having an abortion, and that's really not around where a lot of small children gather. And a college campus is a perfect place for that. And a college campus used to be, at least, the place for the free exchange of ideas, the marketplace of ideas. Go, debate, see which idea rises to the top. And it's just unfortunate that there's kind of two enemies to the marketplace of ideas on modern university campuses now. One would be a revamped sense of political correctness and a certain kind of ideology that says you have to subscribe to our beliefs about gender, sexuality, whatever it may be, and if you don't, you're guilty of hate speech and we're going to shut you down and not let you speak on our campus. And that's the minority. Then the larger threat, actually, the marketplace of ideas is apathy, is people just putting in their iPhone earbuds and not caring.
Yeah.
So, but I still think it's worthwhile to go to campuses and do this. And that's why I love being on the radio, because that debate and dialogue I used to have on college campuses on whether abortion should be legal or illegal, we get to still have that here on the radio. Lots of people are listening, people who identify as pro-choice. And if you're pro-choice, I'd like to know why. Just call in. And if I'm pro-life, but if I'm wrong, I will completely change my mind on this subject. I just want to hear what the other side says as to why I should support legal abortion.
888-318-7884 is that number if you do want to call and share with us why you are pro-choice. 888-318-7884. I actually think this is a discussion that's mostly avoided in media. Like you would think that, like these cable news shows that obviously are hurting for content all the time. They're constantly kind of digging the bottom of the barrel for content. But no, just crickets on this. We just don't even talk about this anymore.
Or, Cy, unfortunately, people do talk about it, but it's cable news discourse, which is the absolute worst. It's just two talking heads. They're not willing to tease out an argument, critique each other's points. It's just all about who can get the best soundbite in. And when you criticize someone's argument, they just choose not to respond. They just launch into their next soundbite. Yeah. And so that's just very unfortunate when abortion is discussed. And you're right. Usually it's hardly discussed at all. That's why I'm looking forward to, hopefully we can talk about it here on air.
We'll do that when we come back. Lots of calls coming in. If you'd like to get in the queue to talk with Trent, usually that queue does get long early, so give a call, 888-318-7884, 888-318-7884. Carlin on Facebook, Trent, says he can hear you, and he's got his earbuds in. So I guess he's listening to the show through the earbuds.
And that works when I am broadcasting to you online. But when I'm standing in the middle of the university plaza, the earbuds are my number one enemy. But here, they can be my number one ally. So thank you for listening to me through your earbuds.
Thanks, Carlin. Why are you pro-choice? That's the topic of the hour today. Trent Horn is our guest. Our number, 888-318-7884. We'll be right back to take your calls after this on Catholic Answers Live.
Hi, this is Trent Horn. Did you know that you can have me and other Catholic Answers speakers headline your next conference or parish event? Go to CatholicAnswersSpeakers.com to get all the information you need to book one of our dynamic speakers today. That's CatholicAnswersSpeakers.com.
Talking about abortion can be scary, but so is anything with which you're unfamiliar. People need to learn how to talk about abortion in ways that inspire confidence in the truth of the pro-life position. We must talk about abortion because we are afraid. Persuasive Pro-Life: How to Talk About Our Culture's Toughest Issue is the new book by apologist Trent Horn that teaches you to face those fears to engage in sustained and meaningful dialogue with the goal of persuading others. Field tested on college campuses, Persuasive Pro-Life will help you to change people's hearts and minds and begin to build up a pro-life culture in today's world, one person, one conversation at a time. Order your copy of Persuasive Pro-Life, How to Talk About Our Culture's Toughest Issue today by calling 1-888-291-8000, going to Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore in your area. Also available as an ebook.
Pope Francis said, "The key that opens the door to faith is prayer." Join St. Paul Street Evangelization by running a prayer station in the public square. You don't need to be a professional apologist or theologian. Just listen to the needs of the people you encounter. Offer encouragement, take prayer requests, and pray with people. Find out more and get involved today at streetevangelization.com. That's streetevangelization.com.
Wouldn't it be great to have a book to give to anyone to explain exactly why Catholics believe what we believe? The good news is that now there is. Why We're Catholic is the groundbreaking resource by apologist Trent Horn. That one book you can hand to anyone as a starting point for helping them find their way into, or back to, the practice of the Catholic faith. This Lent, plant seeds of faith in the hearts and minds of your non-Catholic friends and family. Order your copies of Why We're Catholic today. You can order your copies of Why We're Catholic by calling 1-888-291-8000, visiting the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Call now with your question. 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to our super great Monday show with Trent Horn. And our question of the hour, why are you pro-choice? 888-318-7884, the number, 888-318-7884. If you have a reason that you would like to discuss about why you are pro-choice, we would like to discuss that reason with you. And as a matter of fact, we believe that this is a topic that needs a great deal more reasoning about. Lots of calls, Trent. Shall we go to them?
Let's do so.
All right, let's start with Craig in Winchester, Virginia, listening on 89.7 FM. Craig, thank you for your call. You are on with Trent Horn. Why are you pro-choice?
Hi, thanks for having me. Well, I assume that we're talking about the political framing of whether abortion should be prohibited or not. Is that true?
Sure, yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty logical to me that if we have medical services that are available, we shouldn't prohibit people from obtaining them, especially if they don't share same religious beliefs, perhaps as people who are pro-life.
Okay, Craig, I think I see where you're coming from. You're saying, look, if something is a legitimate medical service, we shouldn't outlaw it just because some people disagree with it. And I agree with that statement, but the problem here is we have to answer the question, is abortion, direct abortion, is it a legitimate medical service? So if we think of something as a medical service, it usually treats some kind of disease or a disorder. What disease or disorder does abortion treat?
Well, I mean, there's the fairly red flag types of things, like an incestual rape or something that would probably.
How does abortion stop a rape?
It might be a pretty awkward thing to have. I guess the main thing for prohibiting abortions, what I feel is the strongest argument, strongly in favor of allowing people access medical procedures, abortions, is that when they're prohibited, the stats indicate across the board, people seek abortions still, and they seek them in unsafe ways. And it's never been addressed by the pro-life movement, really, honestly or directly whatsoever.
Okay. Well, Greg, I'm happy to address that, but I think I will address that, but then I would like you to address the previous question I asked, because we have to determine if this is a legitimate medical procedure. Because I agree with you that if something is made illegal, people will still choose to do it, but that's not a reason to keep it legal. Robbing banks is illegal. Kidnapping, rape is illegal. People still choose to do it. Let me offer you an analogy to abortion that kind of combines these two arguments. Imagine someone who says, look, female circumcision. Have you ever heard of female circumcision?
Certainly.
Yeah, it's a pretty graphic and brutal. It's nothing like male circumcision. I mean, there are people who disagree, obviously, but most people agree. Female circumcision, the World Health Organization, other human rights groups call it female genital mutilation, because it scars little girls, for the rest of their lives. And there are people who claim it's a legitimate medical procedure when clearly it's not. So what if they said, look, people should have access to female circumcision. It's a medical procedure. And if you make it illegal, people are still going to perform this on little girls, but in unsafe places. So we should make it safer to mutilate their genitals by keeping this legal. Now, in that context, I think most people will see that makes no sense at all. But the same follows with abortion. If what abortion is just the killing of a human being in the womb before they are born, then it's the same logic. It's like we're saying, look, big people, the mothers who are going to end these children's lives, they're going to do it anyways, so let's make it safer for them to end these child's lives. Does that make sense to you?
I think it's a weird and awkward analogy, honestly.
What's wrong with the analogy?
Abortions are something that have happened throughout human history, and they can happen in all kinds of ways, and prohibiting them does not keep them from happening.
Okay, Craig, let me respond then. Then I can say the same thing. Isn't it also true that rape is something that has happened throughout all of human history, and if you prohibit it, it will still happen?
Certainly.
Okay, but that's not an argument to make rape.
It does have a lower incidence, I believe. I'm fairly certain. I'm not 100% certain, but the stats are fairly in the court of that abortions still happen very much in a similar instance, whether they're prohibited or not, which is not the case for all these other things: rape, murder, theft.
Well, are you saying that there's more abortions when it's illegal? There are more?
No. I'm saying that the incidence is very comparable.
I haven't seen evidence for that. That if you look at the Centers for Disease Control in 1972, I mean, right now we've got 1 million abortions a year. Prior to that, maybe there was, 98,000 prior to Roe versus Wade. After that, you see it increase 2, 3, and 4-fold. But the numbers, I don't think that's the main issue. Because Craig, here's my main argument. You can tell me what's wrong with it. We should not make it legal for big people to kill little people. Abortion is an act of big people like doctors killing little people who live in the womb. Therefore, it should not be legal. What's wrong with that argument?
And I know you'll take exception here, but a fetus is not a person. A single cell is not a person, a fully functioning, fully developed person with legal rights. And no states or very few states recognize a fetus or a single-celled organism as a human being.
Okay. Well, Craig, let me ask you.
And there's a very slippery slope with trying to do that. So all of a sudden, let's say those are people. Well, all of a sudden now, we have, I think it's 25% of pregnancies end in miscarriage.
Uh-huh.
So now the number one public health crisis, as soon as you say that a person is a single-celled fetus, now that our number one health crisis is all the babies who are naturally aborted, if you will,
okay,
or miscarried.
Well, Craig, let me address that then. Number one, a fetus is not comprised of a single cell. You're thinking of a zygote. Fetus is a Latin word that means little one. It refers to the stage of development in the life of a human being when they are 8 weeks old until they are born. That's when they have their major bodily organs present: eyes, ears, fingers, toes, stomach, spleen. They're all growing and developing. So this is just a very small human being. Now, you've made the claim that the fetus, the human fetus, is not a person, and I would like to know what evidence you have for that claim. It seems to me you offered really two justifications in what you're saying to me. Number one, no state recognizes a fetus as a person. And to me, that argument carries no weight because there was a time when the United States didn't recognize African Americans as persons. The law is simply wrong, and it should be changed, just like it was wrong before about personhood. And number two, you say that the unborn are not persons because they have a high mortality rate, that maybe 25% of unborn children are miscarried prior to birth. No one knows the exact numbers, but that doesn't show the unborn are not persons. Throughout human history, and even in some places today, like rural Afghanistan, there are places where child mortality, where half of all children never see the age of 5. That's been true throughout human history and in some parts of the world today. But it wouldn't follow that toddlers are not people because they have a high mortality rate. So that's how I would respond to those two arguments. Feel free to make a reply to that. But that's how I would respond to them. And then I would like to ask one simple question of you. You said the fetus is not a person. Can you define what a person is?
I mean, I'm stuck with how we've historically defined people, which is that living, breathing people who are able to survive outside the womb is how that has historically and traditionally been defined.
So you're saying a person is any human being who can live outside of the womb?
Right.
So you're saying a fetus is not a person because persons are not fetuses?
No, I'm not trying to use circular logic.
Why do you then to show it's not circular, Craig? Why do you have to be able to live outside of a uterus to be a person?
That's a good point. I guess I'm not really opposed to even some sort of abortion limits, but I think the idea of trying to bring it all the way back to conception is a really broad concept.
What limits would you lean towards as being reasonable?
I think that what kicked around with between 20 and 30 weeks or so, it seems. I think honestly closer to 30 weeks, where it actually could be a viable thing. With it could survive when given some attention and care, as opposed to where it just does not have the organs that are fully, functioning well enough to survive outside the womb or to develop fully. Yeah.
Here's the problem I see with that, Craig. To me, that just seems like a really unfair standard. It's like, we're saying to this human fetus, this very small human being, you're not a person because you can't survive in a place where there are places where you can't survive. You can't survive where we live, therefore you're not a person. But the unborn is surviving exactly where they should be surviving, in the womb. And if we put them in a place where they can't survive, we kill them. I guess my feeling is this: with human beings, you shouldn't put human beings in places where they can't survive. Like you and I, ironically enough, if you and I were shrunk down to miniature form and placed in the uterus, we would drown because it's an aqueous environment. So it's ironic, like we can't survive where the unborn child lives, yet we're still persons. The unborn child can't survive where we live. Somehow that means they're not a person. It just doesn't make sense to me. It seems like we just take for granted that standard will never be applied to us.
Sure. How about, so as far as addressing, the goal then, the pro-life movement has stated to be to prohibit abortions, more or less, and that's certainly what the movement has attempted to do and make them harder to obtain. But it seems not to address the real harm and impact that causes, which is that people do still pursue having them and have them in unsafe conditions, and that there's real harm that is done to mothers or would-be mothers in those circumstances.
Oh, are you saying what are pro-lifers doing so that there are less abortions?
That would be an interesting thing to work on.
Well, it is an interesting question. I'm not opposed to reducing abortions while we try to make them illegal. In fact, I think it'll be easier to make abortion illegal when there are less of them. And, pro-lifers have different pragmatic, we have differences of opinion about how to accomplish that. Some people think, well, just spend on poverty programs and things like this. I'm not entirely sure that that would work because, as I wrote in a blog post a month ago, a group called the Brookings Institute showed that women who make 4 times above the poverty level, income-wise, are actually 4 times more likely to have an abortion. So the rate of abortions, if you make more of an income, you may actually be more likely to choose abortion. To me, what I think the pro-life movement should focus on is instilling moral education that the unborn are human beings and reducing access to abortion. When you look around in the country, places where there are few abortion facilities, regardless of population levels, there are much fewer abortions. If it's not available, people don't choose it. So I would recommend if you go to Catholic.com, you can see my recent article on that, as well as a few other articles on the pro-life position, or my book, Persuasive Pro-Life, should be helpful on that. But thanks for calling.
Thank you very much, Craig, for that call. You can hear the music, means we got to go to a break. If you are a pro-choice person, if you believe that abortion should be legal, whether you're like Craig and you believe it should be legal all the way from the beginning of pregnancy, or maybe even just the first few weeks, give us a call, 888-318-7884. We'll be right back.
There's only one. Catholic Answers Live.
EWTN is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If your cable or satellite provider doesn't carry EWTN's full programming lineup, give them a call and let them know you would like to receive EWTN 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
For more information, go to EWTN.com and click on television.
Can you trust the basis of the Christian faith? The Christian faith is under constant attack today in numerous ways, but the attack that does the most damage is the one that asks a deceptively simple question. What if your faith is based on a myth? The skeptics come with arguments to cast doubt in numerous ways, often attacking the reliability of the New Testament and the Gospels. And the sad news is that most people don't know how to answer these charges. The good news is that there are answers to each and every one of them, good, solid answers. That's why Catholic Answers Studios has just released Jimmy Akin's new DVD, The Dawn of Christian History. With his characteristic wit and passion as a master storyteller, Jimmy takes you through an exciting detective story that reveals how history supports the Christian faith. Order your copy of The Dawn of Christian History today by calling 1-888-291-8000, visiting the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you. Tim Staples, Trent Horn, Cy Kellett, Chris Check, Carlo Broussard. Our on-fire lineup of speakers will inform and inspire your audience to grow in their Catholic faith. For more information on booking a Catholic Answers speaker for your event, visit CatholicAnswersSpeakers.com today.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Trent Horn is our guest. Trent is the author of Persuasive Pro-Life, and he's got a brand new book coming out that you can find at shop.catholic.com, or just go to catholic.com. It's right there next to the banner. I saw it today, the cover of it. That's called What the Saints Never Said. I'm getting the title right now, right?
Yes, What the Saints Never Said, Pious Misquotes and the Subtle Heresies They Teach, though I had more than a few people online think that it said Pious Mosquitoes.
Oh, nice.
And that is how these misquotes happen.
Which is an awesome name for a book, though. If you can maybe come up with something to go with that title, Pious
or
Mosquitoes.
Maybe some kind of Catholic alternative rock group. Like, we're the Pious Mosquitoes. We're going to be playing down at the Shack on Friday night at 8 p.m. There's
Not
cover
the
charge,
Shack,
but it's
man.
going to be worth it.
It's going to be totally worth it, man.
Also, please share it on your Twitter and Facebook, and go to our MySpace page.
We're trying
Thanks,
to create
guys.
a buzz.
Pious Mosquitoes buzz on MySpace.
I said
Tom likes us.
Tom likes us.
Tom is our friend.
888-318-7884, and sometimes Rhodey. 888-318-7884, the number, if you'd like to talk with Trent about why you are pro-choice. And when we say pro-choice, we're just looking for folks who believe in any degree or manner that abortion should remain legal, that there's a good moral or reasonable argument to be made that abortion should remain legal, whether you believe that throughout the entirety of the development of the child in the womb, or maybe you're one who says, well, maybe after 20 weeks of it, whatever. If you're pro-choice in any way, we'd love to talk with you. And pro-choice means that you are in favor of legalized abortion or keeping abortion legal. 888-318-7884 is the number. I say that so specifically because lots of pro-life people call on these days, and we really do restrict it to folks who believe in abortion, or maybe don't believe in abortion, but believe in the legality of abortion or support the legality. Again, the number 888-318-7884. The number 888-318-7884. We go now to Matt in New Orleans, Louisiana, listening on 690 AM. Matt, why are you pro-choice?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I was really, I think my views might be, I don't know if you would say they're evolving, but I do have concerns about removing the legality of abortion. I know a lot of people that have struggled and made this decision, and they were very, conscious examiners of their life and their circumstances. And I wanted to see if y'all could comment on, I believe, sorry, I'm a little nervous, but for one, I believe, well, I guess the economic justice argument, I think Thurgood Marshall used that argument rather than like this bodily autonomy argument in the Supreme Court decision. And I wanted to tie in the fact that a lot of, I believe, Central American countries, and I'm forgetting them off the top of my head, but I think like El Salvador have very strict limits on abortion, but also have high poverty rates and very high abortion rates as well. And I wanted to see like what, I guess I'm kind of calling just from a concern that we don't have or we're not allocating the resources as a society to actually like nurture families, and that a resort, because that sometimes women resort to abortion because of their circumstances. And I did hear his statistic about the upper income women basically maybe more likely, but I am confused because I know statistics in South America and Central America suggest that there is a lot of high abortion rates in high poverty countries.
Right. Let me address it. There's a lot here to chew on, Matt, and I'm excited to talk to you about it. We must be careful when we're looking at statistics not to confuse correlation with causation. Just because we see two things are related, it doesn't follow that there's a causal indicator between them. For example, there's a common, this has been well documented, that countries that invest more in education have higher suicide rates, but that doesn't mean it's wrong to invest in education or that education directly causes suicide. Or I'll give you another example. It's pretty common that cities that have large numbers of churches also have high crime rates, but that doesn't mean that's the churches causing the crime rates. There's a third variable. They have large places that have lots of churches have high populations. High population centers are more likely to have higher crime rates. So when we look around the country, you're correct. There are some countries with high poverty rates and where abortion is illegal, and there are high poverty rates. But there's also countries where abortion is legal, and there are high poverty rates, such as in Eastern European countries, in the former Soviet Union. Some other Asian countries come to my mind where, especially where the communist government once mandated abortion and paid for it, there are still high poverty rates regardless of there being high abortion rates or high access to abortion. And then there are places like Poland and Ireland where you have very low abortion rates, where abortion is restricted, and the poverty rates are fairly low. Maternal mortality, as in the health of pregnant women, is actually better than in the United States. In fact, the United States is one of only a handful of countries in the world that allows abortion up till the moment before birth. I think the only other countries are like China and North Korea. But like in Western Europe, for example, abortions are usually illegal after 12 weeks. So that's one thing to think about there. But the economic justice argument you mentioned, I'm not sure exactly what that is. I've heard it put this way, that abortion is necessary so that Poor people are not disenfranchised because the wealthy will always be able to get abortions if the poor are not, so we need to make it legal to help them. But that's like saying, we should make it legal for the poor to rob banks. That way they can be on par with the rich. But that doesn't work at all. We shouldn't make it legal for one person to hurt another person, either financially or physically. So for me, it goes back to that main question, which is, what are the unborn? If the unborn are human beings, we should protect them, and that it is better to tolerate poverty than it is to use murder as a tool to try to reduce poverty. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. I think I do, and I follow. I follow the train of thought you're going at, and I think that's very powerful. I guess like a tie into that, which really kind of makes me hesitant, like on a very practical level, is that when we talk about like anti-abortion policies, they're never really tied in with like a robust kind of social program that might be pro-family, like in Ireland, where mothers and families get financial support from the government to raise their children. And I know you're saying about the correlation and not causation, but I do feel like even still we don't. I guess I'm hesitant to drop people out of or to leave people with no support whatsoever.
Well,
but still kind of
I mean, on one hand, Matt, I hear this a lot. It's like, well, if we get rid of abortion, shouldn't pro-lifers take the responsibility upon themselves to provide for all of these children who would have been aborted? And it's interesting that at first sometimes people think, well, yeah, they should do that because they're the reason these kids exist. But there's something actually kind of perverse about that argument. I'm not saying you're perverse. I'm saying when we think about it closer, it's like, wait, what are we saying here? Because here I'd look at it. The reason these children exist is not because pro-lifers pass laws saying you can't abort them. The reason unborn children exist in 99% of cases is because a man and woman engage in an act that they know will bring about a child, will cause a child to come into existence. That child now has now has needs, and this mom and dad have a duty towards this child. The pro-life movement is only responsible for passing a law that says you can't kill this child. So the responsibility for caring for these children falls on the parents who have brought them into existence, not pro-lifers. Now, pro-lifers are certainly willing to help, and pro-lifers, I would say, do far more than pro-choice advocates when it comes to helping unborn children or children whose mothers don't choose abortion. Pro-lifers are the ones who are running pregnancy resource centers. They're running maternity homes for homeless pregnant women to live in as they prepare to give birth to their children and find them housing and jobs afterwards. But that argument that pro-lifers should provide for these children and their families because they want to pass these laws, that's like saying abolitionists in the 19th century, they should take in slaves, and those abolitionists should make sure former slaves have jobs, and those abolitionists solve economic problems that result from freeing slaves. And that's just crazy. You'd say, no, abolitionists don't have this sole responsibility. What they're doing is good. They should free the slaves. And it's up to the rest of us, to everyone, to make sure that former slaves are cared for and treated with dignity. Much the same with abortion, that it's good to make abortion illegal, and the children who come into existence, we should have a discussion about how to help these children and provide for their families. And guess what? There can be, I'm sorry, I just got to say this. For people who go to pro-lifers and say you only care about life after birth, a lot of times when I hear that, that's when people just say, well, you're pro-life, you only care about life before birth because you won't support my government entitlement program. Look, there can be reasonable disagreement about how to help the poor, whether it's through government entitlement programs or through other policies. We can have reasonable disagreement about how to treat, how to reduce poverty, how to tackle poverty. We can't have reasonable disagreement about whether it's okay to dismember a child in the womb. We can't. That just is wrong, and it should be illegal. Everything else we would do, there can be reasonable disagreement, but we need to focus on the main thing, which is that the unborn should be protected under law, and we should fight to restore the legal protection they once had. So just a few thoughts there. But thanks so much for calling in.
Matt, I have to say thank you as well for that call, because we have to take a quick break. It is the question of the hour, the question of the day for Trent Horn is, why are you pro-choice? If you favor abortion, or even if you don't favor abortion but think that it should be remain legal in some form, we welcome your call. We'd love to have a discussion with you. 888-318-7884 is the number. 888-31-TRUTH if you prefer the spelling version. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with more with Trent Horn on Catholic Answers Live right after this.
Why are you pro-choice? Call now. Trent is waiting to talk to you.
Hello, my friends. This is Christopher Check, president of Catholic Answers. I'm sure you have heard that it's still okay these days to hold to the quaint superstitions of Catholicism as long as you leave them in church, because when it comes to reality, religion is just foolishness that withers in the fierce light of science. Problem is, this narrative is false. It is in the Christian West that scientific discovery has most flourished. Still, too many of us find ourselves flat-footed when confronted with bugbears like Adam and Eve versus evolution, creation versus Big Bang, and Galileo versus the Inquisition. What can you do? Come to Catholic Answers 5th National Conference, Faith and Science. Guest speakers Father Terry Ehrman and Dr. Stacy Trasenkos will join the whole Catholic Answers team to explain how faith and science are actually in harmony. September 27 to 30, right here in San Diego. And we are thrilled to announce a special keynote address by Raymond Leo Cardinal Burke honoring the 50th anniversary of Humanae Vitae. For all the details, visit CatholicAnswersConference.com.
Do you subscribe to Catholic Answers magazine? We hope, but if not, right now we've got a deal that you're going to love. We've reduced the price and thrown in a free digital subscription when you subscribe. That's right, subscriptions to Catholic Answers magazine just got cheaper, $10 less on one-year subscriptions and $20 less on two-year subscriptions. And right now, when you purchase a subscription, you get a subscription to the digital edition added to your order for free. With a deal like that, it's the perfect gift for friends, family members, seminarians, your priest, even yourself. When you get right down to it, what other gift has the potential to touch hearts and reap eternal rewards? Log on today to CatholicAnswersMagazine.com and sign up yourself, your friends, and your family for a magazine that is bound to make a difference in their lives and the lives of those they meet. Share the faith. Defend the faith. Catholic Answers magazine from Catholic Answers, the most trusted name in Catholic apologetics.
Call now with your question. 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Trent Horn, our guest this hour. Our topic, why are you pro-choice? If you favor abortion, we would love to hear from you. 888-31-TRUTH is the number. If you don't favor abortion, but you do think that it should remain legal, give us a call, 888-318-7884. Whatever your view is on maintaining at least any part of the current status quo of abortion in our country and in our world, give us a call, 888-318-7884. We'd like to have a reasoned discussion with you about it. That's very, very important to us. Again, I'll give out that number. Oh, well, I don't know why I'm giving it out. Every single line's full at the moment. Hey, you'll get in there, though. 888-318-7884. Let's go to Johnny in West Covina, watching on YouTube. Thanks for watching on YouTube, Johnny. We appreciate it. Why are you pro-choice?
Hello, no, I'm not pro-choice. I'm pro-life. Too. Right now I'm calling. I'm in West Covina on Sunset and Merced. I'm part of the 40 Days of Life movement.
Oh, good.
Yes, and right now we're praying for the babies, and we're in front of the clinic right now. Mm-hmm. I encourage more men to come out here and pray with us, because these are seniors over here helping us, and we get a lot of people passing by, flipping us off, and a lot of things. I could go on forever. Sure. My question is to you. The other day, a nice gentleman, he wrote down really polite. He wrote down his window. He goes, "I'm with you on the abortion." He goes, "Hey, awesome, I'm with you." I go, "Cool." He goes, "But I just have a problem. I can't tell nobody to choose if they want to keep their baby or if they want to get rid of their baby. I cannot choose that. That's up to them. I go, good answer. So that's my question to you.
Sure.
How would I respond to something like that?
Sure. And Johnny, I think you should say you're right that we can't tell people what they can choose to do when the choice is a good thing. You know, like whether someone chooses to get married and have a family, for example, that's their choice because, you know, getting married or not getting married, they're both good things. But if someone chooses to do evil or hurt other people, can't we tell someone you can't choose to hurt another person? Like with that example with the baby, he said, you know, get rid of the baby. Could we say, you know, ask the guy, you know, are you saying you don't have the right to tell somebody that they can't choose to get rid of their born baby by throwing them in a dumpster or, you know, leaving them like on the side of the road somewhere? And to say, look, you would agree, we have the right to tell people they can't choose to just get rid of their born babies. So if the baby is still a baby before it's born, then the same reasoning would apply. So just to say, look, choices are fine when you're choosing good things, but nobody can choose to do something evil or choose to hurt another person. And to make those comparisons there. And if he says, well, look, I can even tell people not to choose to hurt their born babies, but they're still going to do it, I'd say, yeah, you're right, but guess what? We hold people responsible, legally responsible, if they hurt their born babies. Why isn't anyone being held responsible if they hurt unborn babies? Then that would be the point to bring out. But keep up the good work, my friend. Your prayers of 40 Days for Life. We'll ask our listeners to pray for you all at West Covina, praying from an abortion facility there. And normally we only allow pro-choice people to call in, but I made an exception here because it really is a brave witness for someone like Johnny and others who go in front of abortion facilities, peacefully pray. They get hostility. You know, they get attacked verbally, sometimes physically. But to have that presence, to let people know that we're not going to stand idly by while this happens, it's a beautiful witness. And if you want to learn more, listeners, definitely check out 40 Days for Life, their website. That's 40 Days for Life. You can join a vigil praying in your own city or start one in your city if it doesn't have one. So do check that out. And Johnny, thank you so much for calling in.
888-318-7884, the number. Let's go to Bob in Springfield, Massachusetts, listening to EWTN on Sirius Satellite Radio. Bob, why are you pro-choice?
Yes, a blessed. You know, I'm not Catholic, but a blessed Lent for you.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice of you.
You guys there.
Thank you.
But I follow the Catholic faith a little bit. I always want to talk about the Blessed Mother, but her, you know. But I'm going to talk about this because at one time I was pro-abortion, and then I learned a lesson from one of my nieces who was Catholic and who carried the baby, and I thought she should have had it aborted, okay, because she had a relationship with somebody and at 18 and her whole life, but then she ended up having the baby, and I learned from that, and I said, wow, this is amazing, you know, this little baby that I want, that if I would have spoke the words, I would have said you should have killed it, you know. But now, so I flipped again. So then I was for pro-life.
Yeah.
But now with America, the way it's evolving or devolving, you know,
sure.
And I see in the news that they allow rapists. So I guess my statement is, I think I have much empathy for the girl that's been raped. If it was my granddaughter or my daughter or anybody.
Yeah.
And now in America, they allow that rapist to serve their time and then come out of prison, not necessarily born again and Holy Spirit filled or, you know, even a good person. They're still evil for a person. And they have rights, and the courts in America are deciding that person has a right to that child, custody rights. And because of that, I'm going back to say, you know, to that little girl or that young woman or older woman or whatever that's been raped, you know, abort the baby, because America is so polluted and poisoned and toxic that they're defending the evil people, and the evil people, even sometimes out of spite, want to just continue.
Yeah. Well, Bob, let me jump in here because I sympathize where you're coming from. The idea of a rapist, someone who's committed a horrendous act of violence against a woman, somehow now getting custody of a child in spite of this terrible crime that they've committed, it certainly does boggle my mind. Absolutely. I'm with you on that 100%. But we have to ask ourselves, look, here's the problem. How do we solve the problem? There's different ways to go about it. Like, could we go with legal ways to say if someone commits the act of rape, maybe they permanently lose their parental rights. Maybe there's a rigorous series of conditions that have to be met to have limited parental rights and restored. I don't know. I'm not an expert on legal aspects of parental rights. But what I do think I'm an expert on is the wrongness of killing human beings. So I would say let's take the example of a born child. Let's say we had a born child who, might end up in her father's custody, and the father's abusive and he's bad. Now, what would we do in that situation? We'd do everything we could to get that born girl out of that abusive situation. But we wouldn't kill her so that her father won't abuse her. I mean, like, it'd be weird to think like, oh, this father might abuse this girl and he might kill her, so to make sure that doesn't happen, we're going to kill her ourselves. It just doesn't make any sense. It's the same with an unborn child. And even there, no one is saying that the rapist is going to get immediate custody or anything like this. What we should always do when it comes to evil, it is better to suffer and endure evil than to inflict it on other people. It is always better to endure evil than to inflict it unjustly on other people, and especially to inflict it on someone as innocent as an unborn child. So just keep that in mind, and just remember that we should always tackle these problems, but do so in a just and loving way that doesn't hurt innocent people. So keep that in mind, and thanks for calling in, Bob.
Thank you very much, Bob. Let's try to get one more call in before we have to go to the top of the hour. And when we do, Trent's going to be with us second hour. We're going to continue this discussion on why are you pro-choice. So if you're on the line, stay on the line. And if you haven't gotten on the line yet, 888-318-7884 is the number. 888-318-7884. We go now to Jake in Topeka, Kansas. Jake, you are on with Trent Horn. Why are you pro-choice?
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I'm pro-choice because I believe that it's a woman's right to choose what she wants to do with her body.
Okay, so Jake, you think that a woman has the right to do whatever she wants with her body, including doing whatever she wants to the unborn child in her body, in her womb?
Well, I'm more receptive to the idea that, especially late in the third trimester, that at least in my own personal experience, if I were, presented with that choice, obviously I would follow through on it. But in terms of, late trimester or late third trimester abortions, I think the majority of women who opt for procedures that late typically have experienced problems in their pregnancy, in which their life might very well be at stake. So I'm actually curious what your opinion is on that.
Sure.
What would you?
Yeah, and Jake, here's what I would say on that point. That in a late term, let's say a third trimester pregnancy, if someone is experiencing a medical problem, at that point the child is viable. It takes longer and is more dangerous to try to abort the child at that stage than to simply either give birth or perform an emergency cesarean section or emergency C-section. I would say that if there is a health problem after, in the third trimester of pregnancy, it makes no sense just deliver the child. Maybe they have, there's a risk of something happening to the child, but it's better to deliver the child and give them a chance to live. In fact, a pretty strong one if it's in the third trimester and there's medical equipment to aid the delivery, than to give the child no chance and dismember them. Or even at that stage, at the third trimester, you don't really even dismember the child. Doctors usually just inject poison directly into the child's heart, and the child dies, has a heart attack, and the child is stillborn, essentially. So the child has to be delivered one way or another at that point in pregnancy, and it just makes sense to me. Deliver them alive. Don't kill them. So I'd say, though, if you believe that a woman has a right to do anything she wants with her body, then you can't be against late-term abortion, because you say, well, she can do what she wants with her body. But if you are against late-term abortion, then that shows a woman does not have a universal, unlimited right to do whatever she wants with her body. Deep down, we know we can use our bodies however we want, except to hurt other people. So something to keep in mind. And thanks for calling in. I hope our other callers will stay on the line. We'll be at you right after here in the next hour.
Jake, thank you for the call. Thanks for every pro-choice person who has called today. As Trent said, if you have called but we haven't gotten to you, just hang on. We're going to come right back after this and do more Why Are You Pro-Choice with Trent Horn right here on Catholic Answers Live. That number, if you haven't called, 888-318-7884, 888-318-7884. We'll be right back after this on Catholic Answers Live. Hi, everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, any other social media things that I don't know about. We sometimes like to, check in and visit when we're at the break. Trent's with us. Hi, Trent.
Hey.
Maybe somebody's got a question or something, or maybe you want to tell us how you think the show's going or anything like that. We'll say hello to some folks here as well. As I said, we're very appreciative that you have joined us, but I'm going to spend a little extra time with you when we can. And this is one of those occasions when we can. We're not really reading social media comments or questions as we do on some shows because this is more of a discussion type show, so folks have to call in. And you can call 888-318-7884. Pamela, hi. Sarah, nope, hi. Steve, M. Sutton, Lenny, Pamela, Carlin, hi, all of you. That's our all Facebook folks. Nathaniel, Thomas, JG, Matt 2.0. I wonder what Matt 2.0 or 1.0 thinks about Matt 2.0. Like, are you a clone, Matt 2.0? Usually there's some good names. Oh yeah, McGhostlovin, that's a good name. I like that name. Unrated Awesomeness, another excellent handle over there on YouTube. Anybody got a question for Trent or want to give us some feedback? Jordan says, God bless you, Cy and Trent, and may God grant you patience. I don't know if I'd be able to keep it on this topic. Lucky for me, I don't have to. Trent has to. So he does a great job.
Cy, I have to jump in when you're going through everybody's names.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Waltons when they were saying like good night to everybody.
Oh yeah.
Good night Elizabeth. Good night Mary Ellen.
Good night John
Good
Boy.
night Daddy. Good night Jim Bob. Good night Ben.
I love that you remember so many of them. Like Walton's was on TV when I was a kid. There's no way it was like, what was it on Nickelodeon for you?
I might have possibly searched for it quickly right now. I remember the scene, but I had to quick look it up right now.
Yeah, we used to watch the Waltons. Me and my family used to. That was when you watched TV. I don't think anyone watches TV anymore. Do people sit down and watch television? Like that's not a thing anymore, is it?
They do. I think a lot of people stream things now.
Yeah, they stream it or they DVR it or something. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Matthew. Matthew on Facebook says you're my favorite apologist, Trent.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that's nice because when Jimmy was on, he said the same thing. So no, that's not really true. Jordan says hi. Jean says hi, and Carlin says aloha. Don't say aloha. That makes me wish I was in Hawaii. Let's see if on YouTube.
We got to get a Catholic Answers conference or cruise set up there, man.
I know, Catholic Answers Hawaii conference. That's it.
With the next best thing though, September we got the San Diego conference. San Diego is like the Hawaii of the continental United States, if you think about it.
Trent, I drove to work down the 101 instead of the 5 today. It is so beautiful here. We live in such a beautiful place. I love it here. But even so, Hawaii, come on.
Well,
Hawaii's like an island.
Hawaii is the Hawaii of the Pacific.
Yeah, right. Carlin says his roommate watches cable TV. Who else would she send her $500 to?
Right.
Marlene says you're her favorite too. No questions for Trent. I thank God for this program. Cy Kellett and Trent Horn, Filipina from Hong Kong. Oh, that's nice. Thanks for greetings from Hong Kong.
From the Hawaii of Asia.
Trent, what is the Hawaii of the Atlantic?
That's probably like what, the Bahamas?
Oh yeah, Bahamas, the Hawaii of the Atlantic. Yeah.
I just want to know what is.
That's
the
like having a
Hawaii
commercial,
like the Hawaii of the Arctic. I want to go see what that looks like.
Yeah. Lincoln, the Lincoln Continental, the Cadillac of cars. San Diego is over the top wonderful. Wow. Hashtag, hashtag, says Kathy. I don't know what does the hashtag mean in that context. I don't know. Hey, thanks for joining us. I didn't, if I missed your question or your hello, I apologize. But we got to go back to radio silence so that EWTN can get our signal straightened out, or Nick can do it. Or I'm still talking, Nick. I don't care.
Welcome to Catholic Answers Live, the program where you participate with your questions about apologetics and evangelization, including the most important theological, spiritual, moral, and social issues facing the world today. Call now with your question for today's guest. Toll free 1-888-31-TRUTH. That's 888-318-7884. Now, from San Diego, Catholic Answers Live.
I said we were going to do it, and we're doing it. Another fine Monday show for Catholic Answers Live. It's easy to have a fine show when Trent Horn is your guest for 2 hours, and that is what has happened today. Trent is our guest. Our number, 888-318-7884. I am Cy Kellett, your host, and the topic for this hour is, why are you pro-choice? If you are in favor of keeping abortion legal in any form, you qualify as pro-choice, and give us a call, 888-318-7884, if you would like to discuss your reasons for that. And that is exactly what we were trying to do, have reasonable conversation. We are broadcasting from the Hawaii of the continental United States, San Diego. Do you like that, Trent? The Hawaii of the continental United States?
I think that accurately describes San Diego. I challenge anyone else to say which part of the United States
is more Hawaii-ish?
Is the Hawaii of the continental United States. Yeah. I mean, the closest, maybe like Miami, Fort Lauderdale area.
Oh, yeah.
Possibly.
Oh, they could claim, yeah.
It is a tad more humid there, but there is just something very special about San Diego. And you're right, you and the others are blessed to be there, and I'm actually hoping to relocate back there myself here within the next few months. So you can have me in the studio once a week instead of here on Skype, which is fine, but it's always nice to be there live with you.
Yeah, you're broadcasting from Arizona, the Arizona of the continental United States. 888-318.
It's kind of like Arizona's like the Hawaii of the sun.
Well, of the sun, yes. Yeah. Right, it's summertime there now, and soon it will just be oven. Right? Well, not too soon.
In Arizona in March, it's kind of like every day you just want to run around outside because you're like, it's 72 degrees out. It's nice, but it's like it's always every day is like a little grain of sand in an hourglass, and you see it fall through, and you just dread when the last one goes, and it's 110 every day.
You're a poet, Trent Horn. You are a poet.
And I didn't even know it.
I'm really looking for, but your feet know it. They're Longfellows. No? Okay.
Oh, very good.
Keegan, driving from Denver to Minneapolis, listening on 90.1 FM. Keegan, you are on with Trent Horn. Why are you pro-choice?
Hi, Trent. I'm pro-choice. My mother is a Catholic and American and works for Planned Parenthood. So she raised me as both Catholic, I'm now lapsed, and a good feminist. So I guess I believe in the autonomy of the woman's body and a woman's right to be able to choose what she can. I wanted to respond in particular to something you said to the last caller, and I think this is what frustrates me a lot with pro-lifers and kind of AM talk radio in general is you spewed a little bit of misinformation saying that in the third trimester they're going to inject poison into the baby's heart or the fetus, into the womb to take the baby out, and that they might as well just have the baby because in that point the baby has to come out one way or the other. But I mean, I just get my mother who works Planned Parenthood on the phone to get the medical terms out there. As far as I know, are you saying that medically speaking it's not for the woman that they're taking that fetus out, that it's for her health? Or maybe I misheard you in that last call.
There's different reasons people give for third trimester abortion. A lot of time it's not necessarily even for the woman's health. It's because a fetal anomaly has been detected, which could be something even as mild as Down syndrome. Other times a woman may be experiencing some kind of health complication that would result in the end, necessitate an end of the pregnancy or delivering the child. But to me, if we're in the third trimester, what benefit is there to abortion versus just delivering the child? The only difference is the child dies. So To me, half the people involved now have died, and it seems like a failed medical procedure. Other times, there's other reasons people give for third trimester abortions. Some people don't access abortion till then. Some people don't even discover they're pregnant until a third trimester. But really, what the Supreme Court said is that some states can ban abortion in the third trimester if they want to. They don't have to. But they have to leave an exception for someone's physical, emotional, or psychological health. But those can be used to justify practically anything. And as I said, we are one of the few countries that allows abortion. And in Colorado, which I think Sire, our screener, said you're driving from Colorado, Dr. Warren Hearn does third trimester abortions right there in that city, in Boulder. So, yeah, to me, I don't see why we ever need to end the child's life, especially in that case.
Oh, where did our caller go?
Hi, hello?
Hey, caller, yes, did you have a response? Do I have a... Well, I'm having a little technical problem. Trent, I apologize for that. I do not know exactly what is happening there, but again, 888-318-7884 is the number. 888-318-7884. We go now to Tammy in Columbus, Ohio, listening on 820 AM. Tammy, you're on with Trent Horn on Catholic Answers Live. Why are you pro-choice?
Because I think some of your parameters are just a little bit too narrow. I would agree with you about third trimester abortions. I think that unless the woman's life is in grave danger, that's a no-go. But I'm thinking to a young girl who has been raped. And Trent, I heard you once on the show say we don't even put the rapist to death. But what if you have an 11 or 12-year-old daughter and she has been raped and she doesn't even really understand exactly what is happening to her, and her body is immature, although she's had a menstrual cycle, so she could get pregnant. And she's got little skinny hips, and her body's not developed enough to have a baby. And you're saying no abortion, no exception. To me, in that case, you're sacrificing one child for another.
What do you mean by sacrificing her? Are you saying that I would allow my daughter to die?
I think what you're saying is, or indeed is, okay, we believe in no abortion, no time, no exception. So you've got a child who is still a child, and you're going to make that child go through a pregnancy as maybe a middle schooler or a fifth or sixth grader, deliver a child, and what is that going to do to her body? What's that going to do to her psychological well-being?
Tammy, let me ask you, Tammy, let me ask you a question. Suppose I had a daughter who's 11 or 12, and I explain, children at 11 or 12 know where usually almost always know where babies come from, and they're starting to learn about puberty. And for me, I have never met a child under the age of 10 who wasn't coached by their parents, who is pro-choice. Every child I met under the age of 10 who just looks at the issue with fresh eyes is pro-life and thinks killing babies is terrible. So suppose you were speaking to an 11 or 12-year-old girl who's pregnant, and she's trying to figure out what to do, and she says to you, "But I don't want to kill my baby." What would your response be to her?
My response would be that if I found out she was raped immediately, let's say not molested. I mean, it's different if she's molested and she's further along pregnant, but let's say she was out riding her bike and a terrible human being walking the face of the earth raped her, and I got her to an emergency room. I would want her to have a morning after pill, and by your narrow definition of abortion, that would be a no-go either.
So Tammy, let me make sure I understand. You're saying if this little girl says to you, "I don't want to kill my baby," you would make her kill her baby?
I don't know that if my little girl in a state of trauma, having been grabbed by an adult male and raped, would be able to say that. I mean, we don't let children make decisions because their brains are not mature. Well,
Okay.
their bodies aren't mature at that age
Tammy,
either.
let me try this. Let me try this another way. You and I both agree the rape of a child is a horrible situation. It's absolutely terrible. Both of us agree. Okay, would you agree? Like when you were talking about the rape of an 11 or 12-year-old, whatever it may be. we should not inflict acts of violence against children. You would agree with that?
I would agree with that, and I see where you're going with this, and I think
Where am I going?
your logic is faulty.
Where am I going?
You're going to tell me that we're creating an act of violence against an unborn child or an act of violence against her by forcing her to have an abortion. Tell me how in that situation the morning after pill is the same as an abortion.
Well, Tammy, I will answer your question. We don't know exactly what mechanism the morning after pill uses to prevent pregnancy. Now, the ethical and religious directives of the Catholic Church from the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops does allow the use of contraceptives for rape victims to prevent ovulation or fertilization. So the Catholic Church, if someone's a victim of rape, the Church understands that a person has the right to defend themselves against their rapist's attack, including preventing the rapist's sperm from fertilizing one of their eggs. So if I had a small child who had just been raped, certainly I would want to prevent conception and prevent the rapist's attack. But if the baby comes into existence and we have a child here, and we agree we should not inflict an act of violence against children, then that shouldn't matter how old the child is, whether they're an 11-year-old victim of rape or whether they're a child in the womb. And finally, what I would say is that this child is going to be the victim. They are going to have trauma to heal from the rest of their lives. They will require compassionate care to help them. But what I will absolutely not do to a child is add to them the trauma of them knowing they were an accomplice to the death of their own child. I would protect my daughter and protect my granddaughter or grandson. That the only person who would be harmed would be the rapist, and he would be harmed thoroughly through our legal system. And I believe that children should be protected, whether they're a child who's been a victim of rape, a child who's been conceived in rape, whoever an innocent person is, our violence should never go towards them. And as I said to the previous call on the other show, we should always learn to endure evil, to endure suffering, and not inflict it on others to try to reduce the suffering we have. That's not the answer to be living in a civilized world. So something to think about, and thanks for calling in.
Thank you indeed. Tammy, we have to take a quick break. Trent, we'll be right back with more. Why are you pro-choice on Catholic Answers Live right after this?
Hi, this is Trent Horn. Are you looking for a dynamic Catholic speaker to present at your next conference or parish event? Well, we've got a whole host of speakers who are eager to share the truth of the Catholic faith in your community. Go to CatholicAnswersSpeakers.com to get all the information you need to make your event the talk of the town. That's CatholicAnswersSpeakers.com.
Talking about abortion can be scary, but so is anything with which you're unfamiliar. People need to learn how to talk about abortion in ways that inspire confidence in the truth of the pro-life position. We must talk about abortion because we are afraid. Persuasive Pro-Life: How to Talk About Our Culture's Toughest Issue is the new book by apologist Trent Horn that teaches you to face those fears, to engage in sustained and meaningful dialogue with the goal of persuading others. Field-tested on college campuses, Persuasive Pro-Life will help you to change people's hearts and minds and begin to build up a pro-life culture in today's world, one person, one conversation at a time. Order your copy of Persuasive Pro-Life: How to Talk About Our Culture's Toughest Issue today by calling 1-888-291-8000, going to Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore in your area. Also available as an ebook.
Catholic Answers Live is brought to you in part by CatholicSingles.com, the website for Catholics who want to meet others who share their faith and values for faith, fellowship, and love. You can learn more at CatholicSingles.com. Catholic Answers Live thanks CatholicSingles.com for their generous support.
Wouldn't it be great to have a book to give to anyone to explain exactly why Catholics believe what we believe? The good news is that now there is. Why We're Catholic is the groundbreaking resource by apologist Trent Horn. That one book you can hand to anyone as a starting point for helping them find their way into, or back to, the practice of the Catholic faith. This Lent, plant seeds of faith in the hearts and minds of your non-Catholic friends and family. Order your copies of Why We're Catholic today. You can order your copies of Why We're Catholic by calling 1-888-291-8000, visiting the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Call now with your question, 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. Our guest this hour is Trent Horn, and our topic, why are you pro-choice? If you are a pro-life person, we just ask you to hold off on that call till another day. We do shows where we talk to, as a matter of fact, almost every day we'll talk to a pro-life person. But today we reserve it for those who want to maintain at least some portion of the status quo regarding abortion, keeping it legal. Whether you are personally opposed or not, we'll call that pro-choice if you believe that it is a woman's right to choose to take the life of that child. 888-318-7884 is the number. 888-31-TRUTH. We go now to Karid in the Hawaii of Florida, Pensacola, Florida, listening on 103.3 FM. Karid, why are you pro-choice?
So I think it's a little something a lot of people have tried to touch on. Obviously, as people of faith, you're very interested on the soul of a person involved, and obviously killing something with a soul is a big no-no. I don't want to mince words or argue or anything, and personally my belief is at a certain point you're just an amalgamation of cells. You don't exactly have a soul yet. So people who are unfortunately have a rough night out before they may even realize they're pregnant and lose what could have been a person, I'm not going to really mourn the loss of it. It was a small amount of cells, and you probably won't even notice it. And an egg that gets fertilized from a sperm and doesn't bind to the wall of the womb is, again, no significant loss, as in no soul was magically transferred into that cell at the moment of conception.
Okay. Karid, let me, is it Karid? Karid? How
Probably
do you
has
pronounce
a
your name?
better answer on when a soul actually comes into play here.
Oh, okay. First, before I continue, is it Karid or Karid?
It's Khalid.
Khalid. Oh, sorry. It was misspelled. Khalid. Okay. Let me address your point. Number one, my arguments against abortion are ones even atheists can embrace, and some atheists do embrace these arguments. They don't rely on the presence of a soul. Now, in traditional theology and philosophy, a soul is the principle of life. It's what makes living things different than dead things. So even like plants and animals have souls, but only humans have immortal souls. Now, the church has not defined actually what precise moment you have a soul. It actually hasn't defined that. It would make sense that it's at conception, at the beginning when your living body comes into existence. But what the church teaches is that human beings deserve respect simply in virtue of their humanity. And that's the argument I make, is that human beings have a right to life, and the soul can't be detected empirically, but a human being's existence can be. We can know from science that at fertilization, a new genetically distinct, complete human organism comes into existence. A new genetically distinct human organism that will mature and develop over time. So number one, well, I guess we could talk about the soul if you want. I mean, I'd be curious as to when you think the soul enters the body, like how you would know that. Or we can just talk about the humanity of the unborn child. We can detect that empirically, that the unborn is a living, growing human being. So why can't they have rights? I'm happy to talk about either with you. What do you think?
I mean, if you want to talk about the humanity of the unborn, it kind of goes in my mind, to the issue of an in vitro fertilization. Eggs are artificially inseminated and then put into a human body. Not all of them are used. Are they still, by virtue of being in a fertilized egg, conferred the rights of humanity, or no?
A embryo is a human being from conception until the 7th week of life. So the term fertilized egg is kind of a misnomer. Upon fertilization, the egg no longer exists. You have a new distinct organism. So fertilized egg is like born fetus. That'd be like saying if you killed a newborn and you said, well, why does a newborn have any rights? It's just a born fetus. Well, when it's born, it's not a fetus anymore. Much the same at fertilization, you have a new human organism. And with in vitro fertilization, multiple embryos are created, and you're right, not everyone is implanted. Some are not implanted, and they're either put in cold storage or they are destroyed. And some are implanted, but then they are aborted later through a process called selective reduction. And I would say that's wrong because you shouldn't kill human beings no matter how old or young they are.
Okay. This kind of pushes into the potentiality of personhood argument, and I appreciate your insight and your answers. I don't dare pretend to be any wiser than anybody else on the face of the earth. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Khalid. Next time we'll get your name right, too, I promise. We'll work on that. 888-318-7884 is the number. If you are a pro-choice person and would like to share with us why you are pro-choice, today is your day. We're asking pro-life folks to hold on and talk to us another day. We go now to the Hawaii of Oregon, Portland, Oregon. Gerhardt listening on 88.3 FM. You are on with Trent Horn. Gerhardt, why are you pro-choice?
I would hate to say that I'm necessarily pro-choice, only except that you're kind of forcing me into that position. I would restrict it, very greatly. I think it's overused, and I think it should only be used for medical reasons. But I would view it as more of a necessary evil than anything else. I'm thinking of people who have genetic reasons why they shouldn't get married, but do get married, and the results are catastrophic. And there's children who are, if they are detected in the womb to have like gross birth defects that are not repairable, then letting the child come into the world. In the old days, back before we had such advances in medicine, most of those kids wouldn't be viable within like a week after they were born anyway. But because of advances in medical science, you've got children who are basically sentenced to a life sentence with really horrible things in their lives because, that choice to, decide one way or the other in the womb was taken out of the picture either for one reason or another.
Okay.
And so,
Gerhard, I see where you're coming from here. And I guess you are thinking of very severe birth defects. Maybe something like congenital heart disease or brain malformation, things like Edwards syndrome or maybe even anencephaly, who knows. There's certainly serious birth defects that can leave permanent effects for the rest of one's life or be terminal, and the child will die days, weeks, months, or years after birth. And these are tragic cases. But we have to ask ourselves, how do we as civilized people respond to the sick, to sick children, to dying children? Do we care for them and comfort them as they die, or care for them and comfort them to accommodate whatever disability they may have? Or do we kill them? And we believe that medicine should kill those who we think will have more difficult lives than us. I think that's the question. So to see what you really think about this, let me pose this question to you. What if we only discovered one of these serious birth defects in a child after they're born? Like, we think that they're healthy. We had a faulty prenatal test. They're born and they're lying there on the table and we see they have one of these birth defects. Would you justify euthanizing a newborn who had one of these serious birth defects that you think would justify abortion? Would that also justify infanticide for you?
I would not justify it, no.
Why not?
These things happen. Accidents occur, and sometimes you just have to live with them. But
So you wouldn't. So Gerhard, let me see what you're saying. You would not kill an infant that had one of these serious defects, but you would kill an unborn child. Or you're not you, but you would say it'd be okay to kill an unborn child through abortion, but not an infant. So it seems to me that what's justifying abortion here to you is not the birth defect. It's simply that the child is not born yet. But why should that matter?
That part.
You want me to repeat that?
Yes, please.
It's not the birth defects that justify abortion for you, because abortion is the killing of a human life. You just told me you would not kill an infant who had one of these conditions, but you would think it should be legal to kill an unborn child through abortion who had one of these defects. why is it okay to end an unborn child's life for this reason, but not a born child?
Well, once the child is born and outside of the womb, then it's a different story. But if, you can keep the child alive as long as you can that way, but seriously, if there's any way to prevent suffering,
But Gerhard, you don't think if there's any way to prevent suffering because you won't do it for a born child. All I'm hoping you will do, just take a step back. It's not birth defects that are motivating you to support abortion in these cases. Rather, it's visibility. The idea of a child being out of the womb, lying on a table or in one of those metal weighing trays or plastic trays in a hospital. The thought of killing that squirming 7-pound child, even if they have a birth defect, as you said, well, sometimes these things just happen, and so we just have to help this child. We can't. It's quote unquote too late. The idea of ending this child's life because they have a birth defect, it kind of makes us sick to our stomach. We can visualize it, but we can't abortion is just too abstract. But if you really visualize the dismemberment, the vacuum suction, all the things that happen to this unborn child, it should fill us with the same repulsion that it would even to painlessly euthanizing a newborn infant. Both are human beings, just at different stages in their levels of development, and we shouldn't discriminate against children based on their age or their level of development.
Gerhard, thanks for your call. We'll be right back with more. Trent Horn, why are you pro-choice on Catholic Answers Live?
Bringing you the truth. Catholic Answers Live.
Can you trust the basis of the Christian faith? The Christian faith is under constant attack today in numerous ways, but the attack that does the most damage is the one that asks a deceptively simple question. What if your faith is based on a myth? The skeptics come with arguments to cast doubt in numerous ways, often attacking the reliability of the New Testament and the Gospels. And the sad news is that most people don't know how to answer these charges. The good news is that there are answers to each and every one of them, good, solid answers. That's why Catholic Answers Studios has just released Jimmy Akin's new DVD, The Dawn of Christian History. With his characteristic wit and passion as a master storyteller, Jimmy takes you through an exciting detective story that reveals how history supports the Christian faith. Order your copy of The Dawn of Christian History today by calling 1-888-291-8000, visiting the shop at Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Looking for the best in solid Catholic resources that can answer your questions on all things Catholic? Looking for books, audio, and DVDs by the top Catholic thinkers and speakers on the planet today? Stop in today and visit the shop at Catholic.com. All of our resources are time-tested, apologist-vetted, and trustworthy and faithful to the teachings of the Catholic Church. There's truly no better source for solid Catholic resources anywhere on the internet. And now, we've made your online shopping even more affordable with $5 flat rate shipping within the continental U.S. When you're shopping for great Catholic books, CDs, DVDs, and more, turn to someone you can trust. Visit the shop at Catholic.com today. That's shop.Catholic.com.
Dr. Ray Guarendi.
I was raised in an Italian Catholic home. We went to church. That's what you did. And now that I'm older, I can't thank my parents enough for allowing me to know about our Lord, because ultimately the base that they gave me kept pulling me back to the Catholic Church, even though I wandered as a young adult.
The Doctor is in with Ray Guarendi. Weekdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Trent Horn is our guest this hour, as he was first hour, and we're happy to have him because we get a lot of good discussion when Trent's around. And the discussion today is about abortion. If you are a person who is either A, in favor of the broad access to abortion, or B, maybe you're opposed, but you think that it should continue with its legal standing, today is your day to give us a call. We'd love to discuss it with you. 888-318-7884. 888-318-7884. We go now to Erica in Jackson, Mississippi, listening on 93.3 FM. Erica, you are on with Trent Horn. Why are you pro-choice?
Hi. I am actually in Jackson, Michigan, and I feel like you are just pushing your beliefs on me, and I don't understand why I need a law forcing me to believe what you believe.
Erica, I'm not saying you or anyone else has to believe what I believe. I'm
but
just
I would
saying
have to
that.
live my life that way.
Well, Erica, let me finish. You can believe whatever you want. People can believe whatever they want. I just think the law should make it illegal to kill children either before or after birth. And no one's beliefs should justify harming children. And I think that's quite reasonable.
State separate in America. I thought this was the land of the free, and we're all immigrants, and we can believe whatever we want. That's what makes us so great.
Erica, I just said people can believe whatever they want, but don't you agree people shouldn't be able to use their beliefs to hurt others?
Which is what you're doing to me by making this a law. Why can't you believe it in yourself, but
Erica,
keep it out of the government?
How am I hurting you by making it illegal for you or anyone else to kill a child before or after birth? How does that hurt you?
There are some religions that believe that women are less than human and are treated horribly in other countries because that's what they believe. I don't want that to become a law.
Absolutely.
Here.
And the argument that I'm making for abortion, that the unborn should be protected, is not a religious argument. It's based on human rights. And so I agree with you that if somebody's religion says it's okay to kill a woman because she, dared to go outside without a male escort, I'd say that their religious beliefs are wrong and society shouldn't tolerate them. The law should protect women in those cases. Much the same way, the law should protect unborn children if parents have mistaken beliefs about the unborn and think it's okay to kill them. Would you at least agree with this statement? The law should protect children from the beliefs of their parents that might hurt them. Is that sensible?
I think that everyone has their own ideas about hurt and pain and what causes them and where it comes from. I don't think we're all the same, no.
Okay, so Erica, let me give you an example then. There's some places where people think it doesn't hurt a child if you marry a 10-year-old. They think marrying a 10 or 11-year-old doesn't hurt them. It's a completely fine thing to do. Do you think that that's wrong?
I think that is wrong. I don't like that idea, but we did that in this country.
Now let me take it one step further. Do you think there should be a law that says you can't marry a 10-year-old?
I'm not sure. I think that the government needs to stay more out of our lives.
Do you think, Erica, do you think there should be laws that say you can't make 5-year-olds work in coal mines?
Well, I don't think that parents should be sending their 5-year-old. I think parents can decide that. I think they're smart and that they wouldn't do that.
Well, Erica, are there parents who do end up hurting their children sometimes?
Right now, today, yes.
Okay.
They're everywhere.
What should we do to protect those children from their parents?
Well, that's a tough call, isn't it?
No.
That's a good
It's
question.
not a tough call at all. We make a law that says you can't hurt your child. You cannot violate their basic rights. You can't sexually abuse them. You can't. Here, let's go really basic. Really basic. A mom is at home with her 2-year-old, and the 2-year-old is screaming a bunch, and the mom just decides to kill the 2-year-old because she's had enough. Should the law prevent her from killing her 2-year-old?
Well, that probably happens now in places where is right here in America. And yeah, I hope there's laws that protect that. Maybe, that's something to consider. Sure. I don't want that to be
Let's try it
legal.
again. I don't know. I want to have a good conversation with you. This is an important issue, but I really have to be honest with you. I am utterly baffled, boggled, if you will, by your hesitancy to just say the law should keep parents from killing or sexually abusing their children. I don't understand your hesitancy about enforcing laws that keep big people from hurting little people. Why are you hesitant? Like, you think this idea that it's more important not to tell people what to do than to protect children. Why not tell people what to do if they're being monsters?
To this country to escape oppression from other places, and I wonder if there are many situations I can think of where a woman should be able to control what's happening and maybe just does not have the support. You're talking about all this great support that you give and that's out there for people, but it does not exist.
But well, that's not true. It is there. And even if it weren't there, parents should not kill or abuse their children. And, and I guess, unfortunately, I think we've hit a bit of an impasse here because I noticed that you've been kind of talking when I've been talking, so we're not really having a two-way conversation here. To me, I don't understand this kind of like an idol in our world today. There is an idol that people worship, the idol of non-judgmentalism. It's like in the Old Testament, people worshipped idols to Baal, to other pagan deities, and that was the center of their lives. They would kill their children for these idols. They would abuse their children sexually for these idols. And people say, oh, those are backwards, primitive people. But what I see here in America today are people who serve the idols of autonomy and non-judgmentalism. I can't tell people that they're wrong, and people should be free to do what they want. To me, those are more barbaric than the idols of Baal and the other idols of the Old Testament. And so if you're listening out there, I think the pro-life movement is a reasonable claim that all human beings have equal rights and dignity, should be protected under the law from any beliefs that would exploit or mutilate or kill them. I think it's very sensible. You could believe that, the pro-life view, that all human beings should be treated equally under the law with dignity and their basic rights protected, or you could worship the idols of autonomy and non-judgmentalism and let people kill, butcher, because you're afraid of telling other people what to do. I'm not afraid to tell people what to do if they are committing acts of evil, and you shouldn't be either.
Erica, thank you very, very much for that call. We do appreciate that so many folks are willing to call and have these conversations with us. It's helpful to all of us. 888-318-7884 is the number. We go now to Roman in Amarillo, Texas, listening on 1360 AM. Roman, you are on with Trent Horn. Why are you pro-choice?
Hey, thank you guys for opening your lines to opposing views. First off, I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I'm not necessarily opposed. I mean, I'm not necessarily pro-choice. I find a hard time refuting the pro-choice movement from a Catholic standpoint because, I mean, from a Catholic point of view, aborted fetuses go to heaven, right?
We have a hope for their salvation. Because God is merciful, and especially a hope if perhaps if the church desires their baptism. But there is a hope. It isn't taught that children who die before baptism automatically go to heaven, but we have a hope for their salvation in a merciful God.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think that that's only reasonable to assume that a good God would be merciful. But if that's true, and I mean, I think that heaven is preferable to living on earth, how could we possibly condemn anybody for killing a child if it sends that child to heaven?
Because the child still has a right to live, that as a Catholic, we would believe that only God can directly take human life. Life is a gift from him. We don't have dominion over human life. When we choose to take life, directly take innocent life, we violate a person's right to life. It's not within our authority to do that. Only God has that authority. And if we believed that, then why not kill children immediately after they're baptized? Since we know they're going to heaven, we definitely know that. That would, but you wouldn't kill a child after they're baptized or kill somebody the second after they step out of the confessional, because what's more important than just quote unquote getting people to heaven is that we should get them to heaven through good ways, not through evil. As the Bible says, do not conquer evil with evil, but conquer evil with what is good. And so even if you're aiming for a good end, you can't use evil means to get there. That would just be wrong. So that's how I would respond to that, and thanks for your call.
Thanks, Roman. We got to go to a break. We'll be right back with more Why Are You Pro-Choice with Trent Horn right here on Catholic Answers Live.
Why are you pro-choice? Call now. Trent is waiting to talk to you. Talking about abortion can be scary, but so is anything with which you're unfamiliar. People need to learn how to talk about abortion in ways that inspire confidence in the truth of the pro-life position. We must talk about abortion because we are afraid. Persuasive Pro-Life: How to Talk About Our Culture's Toughest Issue is the new book by apologist Trent Horn that teaches you to face those fears, to engage in sustained and meaningful dialogue with the goal of persuading others. Field-tested on college campuses, Persuasive Pro-Life will help you to change people's hearts and minds and begin to build up a pro-life culture in today's world, one person, one conversation at a time. Order your copy of Persuasive Pro-Life: How to Talk About Our Culture's Toughest Issue today by calling 1-888-291-8000, going to Catholic.com, or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore in your area. Also available as an ebook.
This year's Catholic Answers National Apologetics Conference is proud to announce our very special keynote speaker, Raymond Leo Cardinal Burke. Do you have your tickets? Early bird pricing ends July 2nd. Seats are still available, but they're going fast. Visit CatholicAnswersConference.com or call 1-888-291-8000 today to register.
Homeschool Connections, an online provider of courses for your Catholic homeschool, is a sponsor of Catholic Answers Live. Homeschool Connections website is homeschoolconnections.com.
Pope Francis said, "The key that opens the door to the faith is prayer." Join St. Paul Street Evangelization by running a prayer station in the public square. You don't need to be a professional apologist or theologian. Just listen to the needs of the people you encounter. Offer encouragement, take prayer requests, and pray with people. Find out more and get involved today at streetevangelization.com. That's streetevangelization.com.
Call now with your question. 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Thanks so much for being with us here on our Great Big Monday show. Trent Horn, both hours, and they have, to me, they've gone quickly, even though it's a very challenging topic. We're very appreciative of the callers who are willing to call and share why they are pro-choice. And if you're a pro-life caller, we still love you. You just got to call on a different day. Let's go now to Donna in Puyallup, Washington. Donna, why are you pro-choice?
Okay. You might have just influenced me to change my mind. I want to share that with you.
Oh,
you said something very compelling that just struck a chord with me. I have always voted for pro-choice because I think the government does not have a right to tell women or anyone what to do with their bodies, and I'm a less government kind of person. But you just said something. I just want to share that with you, so I stayed on the line. That affected me when you said to Erica that it's not okay to kill your children at any time. I mean, if they were 2 years old, you don't do it. And so because at my base level, I am extreme pro-life, but I just think the government doesn't have a right to be up in it. But when you made the comment that we protect children after they're born, I mean, if it were a 2-year-old and mom was having a bad day, would you kill your child? No, you wouldn't. And so I think you just rearranged my thinking. I just want to let you know that on pro-choice.
Well, Donna, that is that's very encouraging to hear, and I'll pray for you to continue to think about that. And I tell you what we'll do. I'd like to give you some more food for thought to think about the issue. Stay on the line. I would like our call screener to get your address, and I will send you a complimentary copy of my book, Persuasive Pro-Life, so you can see even more where I'm coming from on this issue. but that's very heartening to hear, and I hope the book will do well for you. So do stay on the line, and our call screener, Emily, will get your address and send you a complimentary copy of my book. So thank you for calling in.
Thanks, Donna, very much for that call. That's the first book Trent gave away today, too, and usually he's giving away piles of books. I do not know what happened with Trent today. But congratulations on getting the first book out of Trent. Let's go to Randall in Billings, Montana, listening on 1240 AM. Randall, thank you for your call. Why are you pro-choice?
Thank you for taking my call. Hey, I really appreciate the abortion issue. It's very controversial, and for that reason and for the fact that many people have different opinions on when life actually begins, I have a difficult time when you start making laws against certain things that we're still not even sure of it. And also there's the whole term of born and unborn, and if we believe that life actually begins at conception, I'm kind of confused as to why we differentiate that. And then lastly, I'd like to mention that if you want to kind of get biblical about it, when God created Adam, he actually there was a body there. He formed Adam out of the dust of the soul of the earth, and then he said God breathed the breath of life into Adam, and he became a living soul. So even back at the beginning of history, it appears that life began literally when God breathed life into that. The human. And I have a question about the difference between a soul and a human, because that was brought up earlier too, and then we're calling fetuses children, and so it's just really a blurred thing, and I was wondering if you could touch on some of that.
I'd be happy to break that down for you, Randall. First, number one, Genesis is a genre of epic poetry using figurative language, so it may not be literal that God actually, our very first parents were actually fashioned from literal dirt, much the same way that the sky is not composed of a literal dome with water on top of it that's called the firmament. That just may be poetic or phenomenological language. But even if it were literal, even if it were the case that Adam was created miraculously when God breathed life into dirt, would you agree that every human being who comes into existence they come into existence differently? They don't come from dirt. They come from a mom and dad, right?
Yes.
So then it may be different when they begin to exist, and we can actually use science to determine this, that upon conception, the sperm and egg no longer exist, but we have a living, growing human being who takes in, we say the breath of life. Well, what is the breath of life? The breath of life is oxygen going into our lungs, breathing. Well, even as an embryo, an unborn child takes in nutrients through the walls of their cells. Then as they get bigger, they take in oxygen through their umbilical cord. So a baby in the womb does take in the breath of life, just in different ways than we do. And we shouldn't treat them differently just because they live and grow differently than us.
Mike,
now
when does the baby actually take the breath of life in the womb? Have we established a time for that?
What do you mean, Randall, by the breath of life? You mean taking in oxygen?
What is your alternative? Because we can dispute that, but we need to have another alternative answer then before we can make a law about it.
Well, the breath of life, that's a phrase that described how God brought Adam into existence. And among ancient people, would you agree our knowledge of being alive is better than the times of the people in the Bible? Like, we can see inside the body, we know about human anatomy more. In the time of Scripture, basically, you were alive if you could breathe. If you breathed, you were alive. When you stopped breathing, you died. And so people understood that to be alive means to have the breath of life. Now, we understand more that that's backwards, that it's not breathing that makes you alive per se, it's being alive that allows you to breathe. When you stop breathing, you die. Or when your heart stops beating, you die. Or when your brain dies. But what makes us alive isn't just being able to expand our lungs. It's that our cells grow and develop, they organize, and they're coordinated, and so they grow and multiply along a directed path. So an unborn child in the womb, before they even have lungs, for example, they are growing and developing. They are alive. When they need lungs, they will grow them. When they need a heart, which is 18 days after conception, which is before basically all abortions take place, they have a heart. So it's very clear to me that the unborn are alive, and you can know that even if you're not a Christian, you can know that. But I'm also happy to discuss what you meant by human and soul. But do you have any other clarifications on that, or?
Well, because even when you brought up the lungs and the heart, I mean, they haven't even developed yet until a certain point in the fetus. So, I think, and this is my point, because I would never argue with you about when. I mean, because that's why it's so difficult to make a law about something when.
Well, no, Randall, I think we can. Let's go
people
simple, Randall. Let's just try something simple. If you're growing, you must be alive, right?
I'm sorry?
If something is growing, if it's growing by cellular reproduction, if something's growing, it must be alive.
I don't know if that's necessary. You can grow skin for a burn victim. You can grow.
Right?
Skin
I agree with you. That skin is not a life. It's not a person, but it's living tissue. Because like if you grow skin for a burn victim, you have to give them living tissue, not dead tissue, right?
Well, they're saying now that you can even create a human being out of DNA, and then back even in biblical times, it was illegal to spill the seed because that was considered, life as well. And then you also bring up with what if a woman is being irresponsible, or if she's, my mother was playing volleyball when she was pregnant and she was injured and could have lost the child. Would that be a negligent homicide? I mean, how do we look at all the issues that happen with women, maybe not even their fault, that
we just apply to it. We just apply to it the same standards that we had prior to when abortion became legal. So people seem to think it's hard. People forget there was a time when it was illegal to abort an unborn child. It was illegal to harm an unborn child, and during that time when abortion was illegal, people did not go to jail because they had miscarriages. Just as born people die naturally after birth, unborn children die naturally before birth sometimes. But that doesn't mean we don't have laws to prevent the killing of either born or unborn people. And I would just say that it's very clear from a biological perspective, and you can see this in my book, Persuasive Pro-Life, that the unborn are human beings for three reasons. They're growing, so they must be alive. They have human DNA, so they must be human. And they're a whole organism. They're not tissue. They're not clumps of cells. They are able to grow and develop. The fact that we call them embryos and fetuses, those words, if you look at any medical dictionary, refer to the stage of development in the life of a human being. So it's very clear scientifically the unborn are human beings. Where people disagree is how we should value them. That's the disagreement. But I think the argument saying we should not value the unborn as human beings with a right to life like you or I, they don't work. I'm fine to hear people who disagree with that, but I think that's a debate we need to have.
Thanks, Randall. Going to try to move to another call, try to get everybody in today. Sasha in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, listening on 104.3 FM. Could you, I hate to ask you to go quickly, but could you go quickly, Sasha? Why are you pro-choice?
Well, for myself and my own personal belief, I'm not necessarily pro-choice. I am pro-life. That's just something that I have decided for myself. But when it comes to pro-choice and that law, I feel like I'm a firm believer in obeying the laws of the land. And if it's a law currently, then women should be able to, make that decision for themselves. My thing is, when it comes to pro-choice and the people who are trying to make abortion illegal, what about those who are... So what you're saying is you value life, right?
I believe all human beings have a right to life. Yes.
Yes. So when it comes to life and death, and somebody taking the life of an unborn child, or carrying it through to birth and not allowing them to have an abortion, that is supporting life. That is for life. Now,
Sasha, I'm sorry, but real quickly, you got to tell us why you're pro-choice, because we're heading up to the very end.
Yes, sorry. So what about those people who are on life support?
Okay, all right. Trent, you got to respond to that.
That's a great thing. Someone who is on life support, if someone is dying we are not obligated to use extraordinary means to keep them alive, like a heart-lung machine. If someone is dying, we can allow the natural process of death to take place. But an unborn child in a healthy pregnancy is not dying. They are growing, they are healthy, they are doing what any child should be doing. They are not dying. What causes their death is abortion. And so abortion kills a healthy child and ends their life and violates their right to life. Whereas taking someone who is ill, who is brain dead, for example, off of life support, that doesn't directly kill an innocent person. It lets the dying process happen in a natural way for someone whose life has been lost.
Sasha, thank you so much for the call. Thanks for everyone who shared why they are pro-choice with us today. Trent Horn, thank you for an excellent couple of hours.
You too, Cy. Thank you so much for hosting.
If you go to Catholic.com, you can take a look and order even Trent's brand new book, What the Saints Never Said. Do that. You'll be happy that you did. Tomorrow, 2 hours, open forum. Any question you got, we're willing to take. See you then, God willing, on Catholic Answers Live.